So some mines have been forced to shut down operations due to intimidation and attacks by alleged criminal syndicates. This has been uncovered by a Sunday Times investigation team where mines such as Sibanye Stillwater revealed that they had to close down some of their gold mines following assaults on their staff, some of which resulted in deaths. The investigation also uncovered the shocking amounts of children that are trafficked into illegal mining syndicates. One of the journalists who worked on the story is Aron Hyman. He joins us now via our video link for more on what they found. Great to have you on the program, Aron. Thanks very much indeed for speaking to us. And my goodness, the piece that you and several of your colleagues put together really reads like a script of a Hollywood blockbuster. I mean, we hear of, in some instances, an exchange of gunfire that lasts quite a long time and security guards' bodies being found on the entrances of some of these mine shafts. Let's begin by just placing into context how widespread this issue around Zama-Zamas is. We've been covering it as a country for years now, and it feels in some instances that it's more organized and formalized than people know.
Morning, Ayanda, and good morning to your viewers. It is a very widespread issue. It's become extremely prolific, especially in the West Rand area of Gauteng, around Klerksdorp, Orkney area, northwest, in Welkom in the Free State. It's been an issue for quite a while, and we're hearing reports of it spreading around along the Platinum Belt. So your areas around Lonmin and Rustenburg, and all the way into Mpumalanga. And we're talking about thousands and thousands of illegal miners at this stage. In terms of how well organized they are, I mean, I posted a Twitter thread on Thursday ahead of our story, and the sheer amount of firepower. We're talking about automatic assault rifles. We're talking about, in some cases, allegedly rocket-propelled grenade launchers, and we're talking about hand grenades and stuff like that. And then naturally also explosives that the Zama-Zamas used to blast underground. They have unlimited access, it seems, to the sources of these firearms. We've been told through our investigation that some of these firearms come from the Lesotho Defence Forces armories, where they've been misplaced or stolen or have gone missing. And some of those firearms, with their actual rack numbers and armory numbers, have been found and recovered in South Africa. So it's a very prolific issue. These guys are, just from what we, when you're thinking about Zama-Zamas and illegal miners, obviously we had the Krugersdorp, the gang rape incident, where this happened on a tailings, on a mine dump. So it's sort of an open air situation. And I think a lot of people have this misconception that the Zama-Zama activity is happening out in the open. They're panning for gold in the tailings and in the dumps. It's not the case. In what we've seen is that the Zama-Zamas, for quite some time now, have infiltrated the deep level mining operations of some of the major gold producers, the gold giants in South Africa, and are down kilometers, up to 3 kilometers deep underneath the earth in Johannesburg, in the sprawling tunnels there. And all these tunnels are interconnected. It's kilometers and kilometers of tunnels. So they've infiltrated those tunnels. These are sophisticated operations, where you need life support equipment. These people stay there for months at a time, 3 months. Sure. At a time,
We're stunned just listening to you here in studio. I mean, it raises multiple questions. Perhaps the first one to address is there any indication of how this is sustainable? In other words, who is making this a possibility? Who's funding some of these Zama-Zamas? And what do we know about those people?
So I get a sense that, this plays into the greater question that a lot of South Africans have, in terms of how are they getting money for the gold that they're trading. That we don't know yet. It's something that we're busy working on. But if you're looking at, these gangs are, in terms of how they're organized, we looked at the Terene Eamokata and Terene Eachakela, which are two Basotho gangs that essentially formed around the farm or music genre, but became basically started rallying all of the gold miners, the illegal gold miners, specifically from Lesotho nationals, and started rallying them around this gang, this terrene, and we've been told that they co-opt mine workers, everything from basically the guys who test samples to see what the grading of the ore is, all the way to lab workers, to the banksmen who take people down, and but at this stage they're controlling a place like Klerksdorp, for example, is controlled by one terrene, where they are alleged to have around 40,000 members there. They're a force unto themselves, and the police can't compete with them over there. And yeah, they've certainly in Lesotho they've allegedly bought quite a lot of political influence. So if we're talking about organization, this is already a level of organization, at least on the ground level, in terms of how the Zamazamas are organizing themselves.
Sure.
Where they're getting the money, where they're getting support from, in terms of when they're trading gold, and their networks that give them access to guns, that is something that we still need to dig into.
I'm absolutely stunned. There's also questions, I guess, being raised about how we got here, because something like this doesn't develop overnight, obviously, and I wonder in your own investigations whether you've been able to gauge where it is we actually fundamentally dropped the ball, allowing for something like this to actually sprawl into what it's become.
It happened over time, and when we were looking at Sibanye Stillwater's Cook mining complex, so it's 4 mine shafts that were operational when they were infiltrated by Zamazamas. They're just about southwest of Soweto. And these mines were basically infiltrated around about 2016, and the Zamazamas started bribing their way into the mining complex. And in 2017, Sibanye Stillwater had to place these mines on care and maintenance. They can't shut them down because there's miners down there, and there's also neighboring mines have complained, and I don't think they're able to get a certificate to actually get to shut their mine down. But this happened in 2016, 2017 already. I'm pretty sure Sibanye Stillwater would have made a lot of noise in the industry about this. And then it goes further back. If you speak with mining communities around Krugersdorp, Carltonville, Valcourt, Klerksdorp, people have been complaining about this for a while. There've been open gun battles in the streets for years now.
Sure.
So the mining, the anti-illegal mining task team, which was set up in the police, has been reduced to a handful of men. So it happened on government's watch. I mean, they were completely complacent in this. I think there were a lot of mines that made a lot of noise. You could see from Sibanye Stillwater's responses to us, they'd had it. Other mines don't want to operate in this environment in South Africa. BHP Billiton's no longer in South Africa. Anglo Gold Ashanti is no longer in South Africa. They've got other Africa operations. They're no longer here.
Wow.
And a lot of people aren't willing to take the risk anymore.
Feels like there's this kind of subtle takeover taking place. We don't know where the Zamazamas get the money, even from the gold that they're able to mine. But do we know how much money possibly they're making?
We were told, and this is a guesstimate, that in one shaft in Klerksdorp they were bringing out about 20 million to 40 million rand every 2 weeks. This is in cash. And when we spoke to some of the Zamazamas, some of the illegal miners who are in these terrene or in these gangs, they were saying, their take home can be 40 to 50,000 rand a month, and that is after they paid, expenditures in this ridiculously overinflated underground economy, where you're buying everything is 100 rand. A bottle of water is 100 rand. 2 liter Coke is 100 rand. So after those expenses, they're taking out per miner. We showed these videos of these buckets full of cash, that these young men were given to. That's sort of their pay, their take home.
Sure.
So we're talking about a lot of money here.
Yeah. Very quickly, Aron. I can't help but wonder how, as journalists, you were able to uncover the story. There are people who I imagine don't want this information to be public, obvious risks to your lives. Take us through perhaps some of the concerns you might have had as you went about investigating this case.
So luckily, my passport wasn't ready by the time my colleagues had to fly to Lesotho to go and meet. We were, I don't know whether I'm allowed to say this, but we were set up to go and meet some of the alleged hitmen who were in the Soweto, part of the Soweto Tavern massacre. It was very touch and go there. Eventually, we couldn't because there was a lot of news breaking at the time about what was happening there with a clandestine meeting with Bekele or upper police management and so on. We're having to go and meet sensitive sources in a country that we don't know. They were on the ground. My colleagues in Johannesburg were on the ground at the illegal mines with, nameless police officers walking around there with assault rifles. And even the police there are outgunned. When 100 men come along armed with AK-47s, there's no way this police officer is going to be able to stop them. So, but we haven't received threats, overt threats as yet. I'm guessing if we start going after or start looking into going further up the chain, where the money trail is going, as things go with investigative journalism, you're probably going to get a little bit of pushback. We'll have to see what happens then.
Sure. Aron Hyman, thanks very much indeed for speaking to us. Not often I'm as stunned as I am as I listen to a guest detail some of what they've been able to find in the work they do. But thanks very much indeed for helping us connect the dots around what's taking place here. And one really gets the sense that we're only scraping the tip of the iceberg, as it were. Aron Hyman, thanks very much once again. He's a journalist with the Sunday Times. And